forgot to think on mute once you started.
All
So we
right,
don't
you
have.
guys. So, as I like to say with these things, as long as everything is working the way that it should be working, we are now live. So, hello and welcome to everyone who is watching the Written in Melanin channel. Wherever this day may have found you, I'm so glad that you are here. My name is Chelsea, and I write books about black girls who aren't all that nice. And I am here with Audra, the amazing, the wonderful, the one and the only. And we are here to bring some melanin to your pages. And this should be an interesting conversation today, you guys. I personally am excited for it because the internet is an interesting place to exist in 2024. So, that being what it is, hi, welcome, hello to everyone in the chat. J Monet, Ben, Audra, and Vina all here. Welcome. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. We are
Morning. Good
going.
morning.
This is going to be a fun day. This is going to be a fun day. So, that being said,
Hey, love, listen.
it's also here. Hello. Good morning. Ash Writes Lots is also here. Hello. Good morning. Good
Huzzah!
day.
Huzzah!
And not Jay Monet being like, I'm so ready to talk about this foolishness. I feel like we have to because I feel like this is a conversation that so many people just be, I don't know. I feel like it's a conversation that needs to be had. So, if you guys haven't seen and can't tell by the title of what's on screen or the title of this video, we're talking about what happened on Twitter this past week. I want to say past week, yeah, about being forced, black authors being forced to write white characters. So if you haven't seen it, I dropped 2 links down in the description box. They're down at the bottom. Just go down to relevant links and you can see what happened in the conversations that took place on Twitter. So yeah, but
And I'm just going to go right on in there because I am not on Twitter like that. And you know I don't know what the hell's going on. I saw what you sent me, like, briefly. And
it's fine. I can carry us through this conversation because I'm actually very passionate about it. So while you guys are getting your links together, me and Audra, we're gonna give you our melanin spotlight, and then I'm gonna give you a rundown while Audra catches up. Cool? Does that work for you, Audra?
I mean, I read the one thing that you sent me about her having to write,
Yeah. We all got some catching up to
because
do.
she couldn't sell her script as a whatever. Okay, my book is James. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said to go.
Now you can go. I had to do the thing. I was still on screen.
Oh, the thing.
There you go. Melanin spotlight. Here we go, y'all. Audra got this.
Okay, so my book is James by Percival Everett, and I am a fan of his. I've read a book called The Trees. You might have heard his name because American Fiction, the movie that's out now, is based off of his book Erasure, which came out in the 1980s. I love his sense of humor, love his style. So this book is about the character Jim from Huckleberry Finn, but it's from his point of view. So he is James. Yeah, I know, Chelsea, not your thing, but I never read Huckleberry Finn. I knew enough of it to know that I didn't want to read it.
Same boat, actually.
Right. Didn't want to read it at all, but definitely reading this. So it says a brilliant reimagining of Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, both harrowing and ferociously funny, told from the enslaved Jim's point of view. When Jim overhears that he is about to be sold to a man in New Orleans, separated from his wife and daughter forever, he runs away until he can formulate a plan. Meanwhile, Huck has faked his own death to escape his violent father. As all readers of American literature know, thus begins the dangerous and transcendent journey by raft down the Mississippi River toward the elusive and unreliable promise of the free states and beyond. Brimming with the electrifying humor and lacerating observations that have made Everett a literary icon, this brilliant and tender novel radically illuminates Jim's agency, intelligence, and compassion as never before. James is destined to be a major publishing event and a cornerstone of 21st century American literature. And like I said, I love his wit and his sense of humor. And he had me cracking up in this book called The Trees. If you haven't read it, that's one of his most recent ones. Definitely read that one too. But James by Percival Everett.
Okay. I love how, Audra has the book and she actually has like background on the author. Y'all know I do not fall into that category. So, this book is one that I have seen on my timeline a couple of times. I know the author has also written middle grade books, but I believe this is her young adult debut. And it's supposed to be like a horror thriller. And honestly, when I read the description, it reminded me of We Deserve Monuments from the description, and I was just like, oh, okay, but it has like a darker spin on it. That, at least that was my take on it, my personal take. But yeah, so my book is Something Kindred by Sierra Birch, and it's magical realism meets Southern Gothic in this commanding young adult debut from Sierra Birch about true love, the meaning of home, and the choices that haunt us. Welcome to Coldwater. Come for the ghosts, stay for the drama. Jerica Walker had planned to spend the summer before her senior year soaking up the sun with her best friend on the Jersey Shore. Instead, she finds herself in Coldwater, Maryland, a small town with a dark and complicated past where her estranged grandmother lives, someone she knows only two things about: her name and the fact that she left Jerica's mother and uncle when they were children. But now Jerica's grandmother is dying, and her mother has dragged Jerica along to say goodbye. As Jerica attempts to form a connection with a woman she's never known and adjust to life in a town where everything closes before dinner, she meets Ghost Girl Cat, a girl eager to leave Coldwater and more exciting than a person has any right to be. But Coldwater has a few unsettling secrets of its own. The more you try to leave, the stronger the town's hold. As Jerica feels the chilling pull of her family's past, she begins to question everything she thought she knew about her mother, her childhood, and the lines between the living and the dead. So, sounds kind of interesting.
That sounds kind of, yeah, it does.
So, like I said,
It
the
does.
summary itself reminds me of We Deserve Monuments by Jazz Hammonds, which I actually read in like a weekend and really enjoyed. But with a darker twist to it. And the part about not being able to leave also reminded me very much of like Pretty Little Liars. Don't know why it gave me that vibe, but whatever. We live. This is what it is. And you guys know, if you would be interested in either of these books, there are links down in the description box below, and they are, of course, affiliate links. So if you purchase using that, you will also be supporting the channel. So before we get into this thing for today, I also want to make a quick announcement in case you guys do not follow me on Twitter or Threads or things, or you're not part of the Discord server, etc. I have started a channel for the Melanin Library. I have all of my merch ready today.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Melanin Library, online database of books written by Black authors. I'm sure you guys know that by now, so I'm not going to go into the spiel. If you want to know more, there's a link to the website down in the description box below. But basically, I am separating the Written in Melanin channel from the Melanin Library channel. So for those of you who come for the bookish tea and all of the things that are going on in the community, as well as the merch and the book recommendations and the melanin awareness, that is all going to be on its separate channel. Like I said, there's a link to subscribe to the channel down in the description box below. It is also a recommended featured channel on the Written in Melanin channel, so subscribe to both, get into it. And the Written in Melanin channel is going to be all of the author content, all of the things that are going on with me. So Written in Melanin, CM Lockhart, the author, the helpful person. Melanin Library, Chelsea, the messy bookish person who's like, ooh, I have opinions, but also Black book recommendations because we need more Black books on YouTube. So there it is, get into it. Yeah. I love how Audra is laughing at me, but that's fine. That's fine.
No, because you're funny. Good. Hi, Deja. Did I say your name right? Deja
Deja.
Marie.
Like Khadijah.
Deja.
Yeah.
Like Khadijah from.
Living single, yeah.
Oh man, and that's my girl too, and that's my show. My brain just completely
Yeah.
stalled. I had a mammogram this morning, and I'm still traumatized. Apparently, like my girls being smashed has just my brain has short circuited today.
Yeah, I mean,
Just letting y'all know.
always fun. Always fun. Also,
Yeah.
Uzumaki is here. Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
All right, so let's get into this because I have actually been waiting for the Melanin Chat to talk about this, you guys. So
I'm just gonna sit back and listen and enjoy the ride. I'll interject.
okay.
I mean, I'm basically just here for moral support.
Okay, cool. So slight plug. If you haven't tapped the like button, go ahead and do that. So
Tap, tap. Oh, let me do that. I don't think I did. Let me see.
yeah. So that being said, you guys, also Benjamin, if you want to actually drop a link in the chat to the Melanin Library channel, that would be really helpful. But so this is what had happened was, as I tend to do, I was on the internet minding my business, right? As I tend to do, right? Because I generally, despite what I do over here, I don't like to argue with people on Twitter because it's pointless, because everybody feels like they are right. And that I'm just like, I don't have time. But we're on the Melanin Chat, we're on YouTube, and I feel like this is a space where we can actually have discussions and talk about things in nuance. So again, if you want to catch up and you don't know what's happening, links in the description box at the bottom, just go down to relevant links. Vina is the one who brought it to my attention, so for sure check her channel out, her content, and follow her on Twitter, because I swear she stay up on it. That's how I be knowing about stuff. Vina be telling me. Anyway,
Vina know all
Vina knows
the
all.
dirt.
Okay. But basically what happened was, you have this you have a Black author, and I'm not going to use names, one, because I don't care to remember them, and two, it doesn't really matter. It's about the principle of it versus the actual person. At least that's how I think about it, right? So you have a Black author, and she recently, there's a movie coming out, The Idea of You or whatever. It's being turned into a film. It's got Anne Hathaway in it. I'm sure you have seen something about it on social media or commercial or whatever. It's kind of all over the place, right? Come to find out, the movie is based off of a book, and the author is Black, but the characters are white. So obviously this brings up a discussion, because, you know, there is this idea, this conversation that goes around, that in order for Black authors to be successful, they must actually write white characters. And it has been a prevalent argument for a very long time. And it is still going around, essentially, that, hey, if you want to be successful, you have to do this. And there was a tweet from someone who quote tweeted the, I guess, poster or whatever for the movie, and someone was like, oh, and they just had, you know, like, they had a little heartbreak emoji because they realized that a Black woman had to write white characters. And obviously, as it is, I believe, to be a regular feeling, a lot of us were disappointed that in order for her to be successful, she had to write white characters, right? So, but this woman, again, who shall not be named unless you go look at the tweet, basically was like, oh, people, it's a shame that authors have to be forced to write white characters in order to be successful, and so on and so forth. But it was like, it's necessary, yada 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 yada. And in my mind, I read the tweet, and I just kind of cracked up at the idea of someone being forced to do something. Because if you guys have met me, if you've read We Are the Origin, if you know anything about me, there are exactly two things you have to do in this life as a Black person, and that is be Black and die. You got to do those two things. Everything else is absolutely, completely, 100% optional. And when I quote tweeted her, and I was just like, forced, with a bunch of laughing emojis, she was just like, oh, is something funny? And in my mind, I'm like, well, if you didn't get the joke, sweetie, then no. But at the same time, it's like, it is what it is, right? And then she tried to make a point, and I think this is where I personally was just like, oh, you're one of those people, right? Like, to be like, oh, in order to be successful, there are so many people, and to imply that, oh, you haven't actually talked to other Black authors who write. It's like, first of all, have you met me? You don't know anything about me, first of all. Second of all, you're out here saying that, oh, they're having to do this in order to feed their family. You're saying that they are doing this because they have to, that someone is literally twisting their arm. And I'm just like, ma'am, all your crayons are not in the box, are they? Because no, first of all, there is not money to be made in writing. I don't know who told you that. I don't know who lied to you. You do not pick up a pen and write books because you want to be rich. That is false. That is movie. That is Hollywood. And anyone who has ever wanted to be an author, wanted to actually be serious about writing, knows this. And if they don't, they find out rather quickly. It is extremely difficult to pay bills by writing books, even in 2024. Even in
Mm-hmm.
2024, even the most successful authors. And I would like to correct the assumption that I don't talk to Black authors, because I actually do, in fact, talk to a lot of authors, and a lot of them are commercially successful. And a lot of them still have to manage their finances with extreme care in order to do what they do full time. So for you, and oh, by the way, fun fact, they actually write Black characters. So it can be done. It can be done. So it's just one of those things where I was just like, you sound like you were born last night talking like this on the internet, because the idea, the idea that you had to do this. And then I believe it wasn't in a conversation with me. It was in conversation, I think it was with Vina, because again, Vina was talking to her on Twitter too. Um, she was like, basically, writers have to pay their rent. They were getting eviction notices. And I'm just like, sweetie, sweet summer child, if you are an author and you have an eviction notice, all right, and your book hasn't been sold yet, you haven't already hit that win, you haven't already collected that check, you're moving out, okay? There is no amount of speed with which you could write a book when you already have an eviction notice that money is going to hit your account before you have to get out. That is
Get
literally not how
evicted.
publishing
Mm-hmm.
works. So to sit there and say that, oh, this is the situation, and that to me is one of the things that just kind of infuriates me, because it's like you're trying to make up hypothetical, fantastical situations in which someone is forced to do something. And I'm just kind of like, at the end of the day, it's a choice. And she said something on Twitter, and I don't think it was in response to me, but she said it was like, well, money that you need to live on is not a choice, in my opinion. And I'm like, it is, because you know what's also a choice? Being a stripper. And they didn't choose to do that. So I don't understand how this is any different. I don't understand how not choosing to work at Amazon, or not choosing to work retail, or not choosing to work as a waitress, or not choosing to work a minimum wage job, or not choosing to do any of the other things is being forced to do it. Because I mean, I believe in chasing a dream. I do. Like, the way I live my life, I believe in chasing a dream. I believe that you should be happy. I believe that people should have the ability to make choices that make them happy. But sweet baby doll, if you got an eviction notice, there's a certain level of reality that you have to live in. If you need money to live and your books aren't making that money, then you have to do something. And deciding that as a Black person, that you are just going to write stories about white people in order to be successful, that's a choice. That's not being forced. Because also keep in mind, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, and I can live with that because I will die on this hill. I will say this: publishing is white. We know this. Basically, every form of art, and when you get up to the higher levels of people who make the decisions of who gets to create art, those people are white in any medium, pretty much. That is a reality. That's a fact that we have to live with. And living in America, you have to deal with racism. That is always going to be an obstacle that is going to be in your way. So I'm going to preface what I'm about to say by saying that I recognize that that is an obstacle that is always going to be in your way. However, I feel like there also needs to be a conversation about skill and talent, and the fact that if you cannot cross that barrier, that on some level, there is some metric of skill and talent that you are also lacking. And I say this because there are also people who, by the way, write Black characters and have been for a very long time, who have crossed that barrier. So it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And I think the thing that got me was about all of this was that even in the article that the author herself was quoted in, she said that she did not include a Black woman in this story because she did not want to deal with it. That is a direct quote from the article. She did not want to deal with the tension that came with writing a Black woman into her story as a Black woman. She tried to sell an interracial romance and they didn't want it. So she wrote a white romance. And here's the thing. White stories are always allowed to be a lot more mediocre than Black ones. So if they bought your white story and they didn't want your black one, I'm going to go out on a limb and be that and hypothesize. Just put the question out there, not accusing, just it's out there, a question mark. Maybe your skill wasn't where it needed to be to sell this book, and that's why they didn't want it. And it had nothing to do with the fact that you were writing a black woman into the story. Maybe you should have upped that craft, taken a master class. I don't know. But for you to be popular and rich and have connections, I don't know what to tell you. Other people are doing it without that. So I don't know. Maybe evaluate within. I don't know. It's a question mark. It's a question mark. But the idea of telling the thing is, you guys, you know me, and I say this in jest, but also it's who I am, because keep in mind that my platform is called Written in Melanin, and I run the Melanin Library, and I'm all about uplifting black authors who write black stories. Y'all know who I am, and I will die on this hill. Especially if those of you who have actually had conversations with me in private, you know how deep this goes, right? I would literally rather break my fingers than sit here and write a white woman getting and falling in love with a white man in my books. And that's the whole story. That's the whole story. That's the whole plot. Wow.
Yes, can we just talk about the fact that just like we don't want them writing our stories because there are a lot of nuances to it that they just will not know because they are not black. Not that I'm defending them, but I'm saying that you can't. Never mind.
Here's the thing.
I'm just saying.
No, you're right. You're right. Because here's the thing. I don't want white people writing black stories because you don't know nothing about it. So I don't want black people writing white stories because you don't know nothing about it. Because let me tell you, you don't know the conversations that are happening between a white woman and a white man when you're not in the room. You have no idea. And I understand that she is married to a white man in real life, but that conversation is completely different. Just like the conversations that we have when it's just us are completely different depending on who the demographic of people is in the room. That is a reality. That is a fact. And to say that you know enough about these people and the way that they live, and I say these people in the meaning of like you are the other trying to write a story as if you are writing it from inside the house. That is weird to me. And I don't care who you are or what demographic that you are. If you do not represent that group of people in some way that is meaningful, and I'm not going to call names because there are some black authors who do this as well that also upset me. And I'll say this specifically, black authors who write black stories who also don't know anything about what they're talking about because they have not lived a specific experience well enough to write about it. That upsets me as well, because you cannot write representation for a group of people that you do not represent. I will die on that hill. And the thing is, it's just like, I don't understand the desire to, as a black person, write a story featuring two white people when that's not your story. Because the question also becomes, if art is supposed to be a reflection of life, and the issue is we do not see ourselves reflected in stories, and there is a constant call for representation and diversity. What point is there in you writing a story that you yourself do not exist in? To me, that's dumb. To me, that's crazy. And you're doing this for a check. And here's the thing that doesn't make sense. Because in real life, this particular author, you're married to a director, and you were one of the actresses in a classic movie that did super well. And you schmoozed with people like Gabrielle Union. Babes, are you hurting for a check? Because if it's for the money, I'm not understanding where these two things are lining up. How you're keeping the company that you keep and doing the things that you do, but also you are putting yourself in the same type of category as indies who are trying to figure out how they're going to finance their next book. I'm not saying that people can't have financial problems. I'm not saying that they can't have financial struggles. I'm not saying that those things aren't real and they can't coincide and two things can't be true at the same time. I'm not implying that. But it's also like, I would like some things to add up. I would like some things to make sense. That's all. And I just don't believe that the only way to be successful is to write right characters, because if that's the metric, I'm also the person, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm also the person, like, if they don't want you to sit at the table, then just build a new one. Like, if they don't want to run you your check, find people who will. I don't know. This idea, this necessity for approval from people who have very clearly stated that they don't want you, your talent, your stories, or what you have to contribute is wild to me. What do you stand to gain from writing this other than a check that realistically you could have gained in other means? That's crazy. It just, I feel like it boils down to, at the end of the day, when it comes to art, when you're spending this much time with characters, because it's not like you write a book in a day. That's not like, oh, I woke up on Tuesday that I was going to do this, and then on Wednesday I did it. That's not how it works. It takes time. And at some point you have to acknowledge that this is what you wanted to do. You did this because you wanted to. You did this because it was a choice. And the idea of saying that people are forced to is like, no, everybody has to choose what they will and will not sacrifice for a check. And it's fine to say that I'm willing to write white characters. I'm willing to remove the blackness from my book in order for to get the check. That's fine. Just acknowledge that that is what it is. It is not because someone made you do it. It's because this was not a hill that you were willing to die on. It's because this is not something that you held in high enough regard to be like, I'm going to hold on to it no matter what. And I say that from someone who has had conversations about potential things happening with my books. And I was straight up like, hey, if this is going to work, I will never, ever write anything but a black woman falling in love with a black man. If that is not something you can get behind, we can end this conversation right now. That's how it is.
Exactly.
That's how it is. And I also know people who are successful who write black characters who have said the exact same thing. The problem is you went into a room willing to accept anything and they took everything. And now you want people to have sympathy for you, and I don't. So, right. And exactly. Okay. Uzumaki also pointed out where she said, I don't think she wants to write black men. I wish people would say that too. I wish people would say that too. Like, it's fine if you don't want to write black love. It's fine. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to support you. That's not my thing. That's not my bag. As a person, that's just not what I want to read, right? However, there is a whole market, a whole demographic for interracial romance featuring a black woman and a white man. That's a reality. So if that's what you want to do, go for it. But don't sit here and pretend like it was something that you absolutely had to do. Otherwise, you were going to be homeless on the street. I don't know, man. That's just a far jump from I couldn't write books to therefore my entire life was destroyed. I don't know. That's a far jump, because even for me, I'm like, I want to write books. This is what I want to do. I put a lot of time and effort and energy into doing it and pursuing it. And I have sacrificed a lot of things in order to make it happen. But also, if it was a choice between being homeless and continuing to pursue this dream, bruh, I will be at your latest McDonald's saying, how can I help you? May I take your order? Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? Okay? Like, choices have to be made at some point. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, man.
But let me catch up on these comments, because let's see. The author of the article corrected a person and said her previous book was a black romance. I wrote to her and said it was not a black romance, but interracial. Yeah, she doesn't, and that's fine, because like I said, I think in real life she's actually married to a white man, so it makes sense that she would write interracial romance. That's not the issue. The issue is, to me, writing two white characters and then presenting it as the only option. That's the only thing that I don't like. Just say you wanted to do it. Just say that this was something that you desired and live in that truth. That's all.
Right. I got nothing. I don't. I was sitting here trying to read your comments and follow everything on Twitter. You know, Twitter just confuses me and makes me lost. But, I got enough of it to know that it's just like, come on now.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. But I also saw the question. I didn't get to answer it earlier because I was ranting, and when I get in a rant, I don't keep up with the chat. But Vina asked if she tried to say that I don't talk to black authors. She implied it, yes. She implied that I don't talk to indies and that I don't understand.
Who said this to you?
The woman who was defending the author. So it's not the author who I was interacting with. It's some random person on Twitter
Okay.
who I quote tweeted because I just, and the thing is, I don't even interact because, as Ben also mentioned, that the conversations in our house are wild. I'll just leave it at that. I was very nice on Twitter. I didn't say anything. I was just like forced because that tickled me, because for the exact reasons I just discussed. Like, you're not forced to
Right.
write white characters. Like, that's hilarious. That word choice is interesting. And as someone who claims to write books and know people who write books, I don't know, word choice would, I think that would be important to you. But I guess we use words that we don't fully understand the definition of, because that's wild. But no, she seemed to imply that there are indies who have to do that. And I'm like, you clearly don't talk to indies, because indies are some of the most successful people by far compared to trad authors. And the benefit of being indie is you can literally do what you want. And the people who aren't successful as indies, generally speaking, fall into the category, one of two categories. They don't know how to market their book, or their book's not actually good. So either way, the conversations that you're keeping, the company that you're keeping, are not the same as the company that I'm keeping in the conversations that I'm having. Because I've never met a Black author who was like, I had to write white characters in order to find my audience. I had to write white characters in order to sell my books. I've met plenty of people who were like, I've thought about it. The question obviously comes up, right? Because we all have to, in the back of our mind when we write Black characters, are like, would I do this for the money? And I say this all the time on here, and I will continue to say it. I do have a number. I can be bought on certain things. Cover, for sure. If with enough money, I will give up whatever cover design you want. You can have it. I don't care. You know, side characters, we can negotiate. The number is high, but it does exist. Main character, it's priceless. There's not a number that you can offer me that would make me say, hey, I'm going to write a white woman as the main character, and she's going to fall in love with a white man, and that is going to be the plot and crux of my story. You could offer me $10 billion and I would still tell you no. I would still tell you no, because I'm not going to attach my name on that. My pride and my dignity and my ego as a human being would not allow it. So no, there's not a price tag. So the idea that you are forced to, the only way you could get me to do it, is if you literally had been hostage and you were like, if you don't do it, I'm gonna shoot him. Okay, then maybe we could talk. And even then I'm like, are you gonna shoot him in the leg, or is this like a death shot? You know, like we gotta get some details. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't understand it. It doesn't comprehend for me.
She said she might take, the death shot, no, but the leg shot?
Only
maybe.
Because I know that if it was just a leg shot, he would not want me to accept it. Only because I know that he would want me to stand on principle. He would be like, I could take it to the leg. We'd be all right. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know him. I know him well enough to know that.
Oh.
But anything short of that.
Oh.
And then the thing is, I asked the question because it's always this idea of write white characters, get in, and then you can do what you want. And Vina brought up two things that I thought were like facts, points. First one being, if you write white characters and you gain an audience writing white characters, who's going to read your book when you start writing Black characters? Because I guarantee it's not the white women that picked it up. Your first book, they're not going to be interested. So that audience that you built now means nothing, right? So, and then my second question becomes, who has actually done this successfully? Like, what blueprints are y'all following? Who did this so well and so successfully that you were like, I'm trying to be like this person? Because when I think of the successful Black authors, I think of the people that I grew up reading, and by I grew up, I mean my mom read them. I think of like Beverly Jenkins. I think of like Brenda Jackson. I think of the Black women who write Black stories. I think of things like Waiting to Exhale, which is literally Black stories. They're like Terry McMillan, like all the people who, I don't want to say came before us, right? But also Toni Morrison stood on principle, and she was literally like, asking me to write white characters, you don't understand how inherently racist that is. And it's just like, you already have people who have said absolutely TF not, right? To absolutely the F not, right? And stood on principle. But then you want to come in here in 2024 and say those doors haven't been open for you? I don't know, man. I always fall back to there's a certain level of self accountability that has to be had in these conversations. There's a certain level of self evaluating, and like, does your talent actually match the thing that you're trying to do? Are they keeping you out because you're black? Or are they keeping you out because you're actually not as good as your friends hyped you up to believe? Because I mean, having hype man is a good thing. However, I mean, everyone's not coming out the box swinging. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. You know? But I digress. And I feel like there's also this conversation that needs to be had of black authors writing black characters, but they're really just white characters and brown skin. I feel like that's also a conversation that could be had. But I digress. You know, you gotta tap into that audience, that specific audience, and you gotta do that by any means necessary. And again, I respect it. I respect the hustle. I respect the bag. I want people to be successful, but I also want people to stand 10 toes down in what it is that they're doing and what it is they're trying to accomplish. Because, like, papes,
Right.
we see you. We see you're not slick. We understand. And just because we're not calling you out on it, because we also want you to get the bag from the white people, you're not fooling us. And just live in that. Just live in that. You know?
Oh.
But yeah. Oh, and the Twitter girl was a Bridgerton stan. And that actually explains everything to me, honestly. Although I ain't even gonna hold you. I saw one of those little Bridgerton like things, and one of the sounds on Tick of the Talk that I was like, oh, this is cute. It's like, no, I will not go. You cannot make me. And I'm like, oh. He's like, go. She's like, no, I will stay. No, go, I command it. And she's like, no, I command it. I will stay. And I was like, oh, that's a Bridgerton thing? Okay, cute. I watched the one scene and I was completely satisfied. Did not feel compelled to watch the rest of it. Because honestly, after the spoon escapades, I was like, I am never watching this show. I don't understand what you guys see like attractive in this, but I'm glad you guys are having fun. This sounds fun. Huh. Okay, anyway. Let's see. To me, forced implies someone threatened your family until you wrote the book. Yeah, literally that. And see, Ben understood. He said he loves that I'm a woman of principle. He understands what the situation is. Also, Deja is here. Hello, welcome. She made a choice.
Deja.
And needs to just stay in her lane. Hopefully she hears the critiques and just stays in her interracial white character lane. She'll get her bag. Honestly, I would be kind of amazed to see if she actually wrote black characters in the future. Because I feel like she doesn't want to do that. And I feel like that's not even something that she said. I feel like what she said was, I tried and I failed, so I did this and now I'm doing this. That's what I heard. Did she actually voice a desire to write black characters? I would like to know personally. Let's see here. And yep, Brenda Jackson, she writes black folk. She has hit the list and has had her books made into movies. I mean, here's the thing. It's not impossible. The fact that also, like, even in this era, this generation, like, Kimberly Lemming exists. A black woman who writes about black women going on fantasy adventures. Like, it exists. You can write black characters and be wildly successful. Like, you can write interracial romance and be wildly successful. Tracy Dion exists. Like, you can write that interracial romance and be successful. A lot of the black authors who write black girls and black women have written interracial romance. That is the thing that is usually very popular. If you think of any book that's like really doing, I'll say, numbers, right? It's 9 times out of 10 a interracial romance. That's fine. So I'm just kind of like, if you couldn't get in the door with that, I don't know. You couldn't get in the door with that. What do you want us to say? The thing is, I also feel like in her article, she mentioned that she wrote the book for 6 years, and I would really, really, really enjoy it if, as a community, we just divest from this idea of how long you took the right to book. The book is somehow equivalent or proportional to how good the book actually is. Those things are not synonymous. I could take like a whole day to like bake a cake. I don't know how to bake. Like, if you hand me flour, eggs, and butter and said, go at it, I would be like, what do you want me to do? Where is my box of Duncan Hines? I'm going to struggle. It doesn't matter how long it takes me to do it. It's not going to be good. So I don't really care that it took you 6 years to write the book. I mean, did you get better in that 6 years? Did you get like halfway through it and then you learned something and you're like, oh, this sucked, and then you went back and redid it? Or did you just take forever to finish it? Because those are also two completely different things.
Right.
I don't know. Let's see here. I've been having an issue with Black authors writing self-hating Black main characters and expecting us to read a whole book with that and no critique about it. Jay Monet, you're going to make me go on another rant. Okay. What can I say about this on main?
Nothing. Save it for the after chat.
You know what? I think we're gonna have to talk about that in the after chat because there are some things specifically about this that make me upset. Specifically the part about the no critique. I can talk about that part. I don't know who told these authors that they don't deserve critique. They lied to you. The only one who has to love you is your mama, and even then I hear some people don't have that. So I feel like you should take that up with Jesus and readdress yourself, do some self-evaluation, and then move forward. But the idea that no one can critique your book, the idea that no one should critique your book, even if they don't like it. If they don't like it, they don't have to tell anyone. Why wouldn't they? Because if I go to a bad restaurant, I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to be like, don't eat there. You don't want one of them. Just keep on driving. Go on down the street, make a right. You need to go to this restaurant instead. Right? That's what I'm going to do if it's a bad restaurant. So if it's a bad book, I'm going to be like, don't waste your coins. I would actually not even pay the $4.99 that the ebook is on sale for right now. I would suggest that if you're looking for what this advertises, that you get this book instead. That's how it is. And to think that people aren't going to do that because your feelings are fragile, that's wild. That's wild to me. So, no. And then also, can we, I don't know. I'm kind of sick of people writing Black characters and they don't love themselves, or the whole idea of the book is them accepting themselves, coming to love themselves, figuring out themselves, just not being happy with being Black. I'm sorry. Have you met a Black person? Have you ever met a Black person who's like, I don't know, I don't enjoy being Black? Because I remember seeing a video recently on Twitter where this guy was on a college campus and he was asking people, if you could be any other race, what would you be? And all the Asian folk were like, I would like to be white to experience that white privilege, right? And all the Black people were like, I wouldn't want to be anything else. I like being Black. Like, I ain't got no problem with me. It's everybody else. And honestly, I just don't understand why that energy is not in books more often. I don't. I would like to see it personally. It's not me, it's you. You are the problem, actually. But I digress. Let's see here. I watched commentary movies and people were saying it wasn't good. It was giving Colleen Hoover or that Wattpad writer Anna Todd. Wow. Oops. All of that, and it's not even good. That's crazy. The way I would never show my face in public again, honestly. I feel like, no shade if you like Colleen Hoover. No shade if you like Colleen Hoover. No shade if you like Anna Todd. No shade if you like Sarah J. Maas. But I felt like as a writer, if someone ever told me that, oh, your book is just like Colleen Hoover, I would be like, okay, well, I quit. I've clearly hit rock bottom. There is nowhere else left to go. Like, that's it. I failed at what I was trying to do. That's it. I feel like that's how I would take it.
Or, that's not a compliment.
It's not a compliment.
You have destroyed my life.
Great. Like, I feel like also if someone was like, oh yeah, your book, it was really good. I felt like it was like the book equivalent of like a Tyler Perry TV show. Well, thank you for telling me your honest opinion. I will go find a different career because clearly I have missed my calling. But, you know, that's okay. That's okay.
Woo!
Everybody likes what they like, and there's no shade in that. I just also know that what I'm trying to write, what I'm trying to do with my writing does not fall into the same category of what those people write. So if it's equivalent, if it's perceived to be the equivalent, if they can be in the same conversation and held on equal measure, I feel like I've done something really, really wrong. Like, really, 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 really wrong. Unless you're telling me that, oh, you hit the level of popularity that Colleen Hoover hit in the middle of the pandemic. Okay, I will accept that. I will accept that. Because she was on every book talk table, everywhere, for whatever godforsaken reason. But that's fine. I'll take popularity. But other than that, content matter? Writing style? Plot? Man. We took a left. We took a sharp left somewhere. And we never got right. We never got right.
I've never read Colleen Hoover, but I've heard enough about her to know that I don't want to read her.
My mama read her. And we had a whole conversation. I love my mom. Y'all know how I'm a problem? I get it from my mama. I love her. She's great. She's wonderful. And we had a whole conversation about it. And it was great. It was... But no. Never, ever want to be compared to her, actually. Or if it's just... If someone's like, oh, your book was great. It was just like Fourth Wing. Well, clearly I missed my calling. Did y'all see her saying that she wanted to collab with Octavia E. Butler? She wanted to write a book with Octavia E. Butler.
Ow.
That's like me. That's like someone like that's literally like Drake being like,
Ow.
"Oh, I want to dance with Michael Jackson." Do you? Do you? Because I think you're gonna need some government assistance and a hit put out on you to make that happen. Get a seance. I guess you need to go to Hollywood and go get a medium, get a psychic, see if we can channel some energies. I love how Audra's just like dead out of it. Nope. Well, anyway.
Because how?
She didn't know. She just named a black author. She didn't know. She did. I feel like she couldn't have. Oh, wow. You know what? I love black people because we can be so creative in saying things. Because I just read Reed Love Listen's comment talking about I would only want their coins, not their writing. You know, Colleen Hoover, Anna Todd, Sarah J. Maas, etc. And someone said they are the Tyler Perry for white women. And I love how black people can say something that's so well
I thought that
mean.
stood for toilet paper. I thought it was toilet paper. Like, okay.
And I love how black people can tell you something and they can make it sound like a compliment and it's really just an absolute insult.
Have you seen the meme of the Tyler Perry movie that's coming out? Not Your Church something is some. It's some movie that's coming out like totally makes fun of Tyler Perry movies, and Tyler Perry was hot and apparently told this
didn't they get a cease and desist?
That he doesn't want to continue his relationship with them.
Makes sense.
Bruh, you are, but he's such a cliche, and so there's so many things that are so problematic about his movies. Like, did you really think that you were not going to get made fun of? I mean, they made fun of, I Know What You Did Last Summer and things like that. You think you weren't going to...
I mean,
No.
Everybody gets it. I mean, the thing that I think gets me about that is that it was, I think it was like Tyler Perry, like Homecoming or something like that. He literally was a parody of what Beyonce did for her Homecoming album. Like that was literally the crux of the end of the show. So it's just kind of like, so you can do a parody, but they can't do a parody? That's wild. And the thing is, Tyler Perry wasn't even bad. I enjoyed his plays when I enjoyed the plays, right? Even the ones that he wasn't in, right? I thought Medea was funny, but I also enjoyed the plays that he wrote that he wasn't actually in or whatever. I feel like he would have been better as a playwright than whatever he's doing right now. Honestly. But also, there's not a whole lot of money in it, so I get that too. But that being said, you guys, it is coming up on 11 o'clock. So 2 things. 1, if you haven't already, go ahead and like this stream because that helps the algorithm. 2, if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to the Melanin Library channel because that's where I'm going to be posting all of the bookish content. So if you're here for this type of conversation, the Melanin Chat will also be migrating over to the Melanin Library channel. So please make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss it. We will be doing this type of conversation over on that channel because this is more book content, bookish community conversation versus actual author conversation. So if you want to continue to hang out with us while we're messy, you need to subscribe to the Melanin Library channel. Also, sign up for the Patreon, because that is also where we have conversations, because that's where we're going after this. And when we didn't name names before, yeah, we do that in the after chat. So sign up, support. It supports the Melanin Library, it supports the channel, and it supports us doing the thing. So get into it. There are links in the description box below. Also, if you see down at the bottom under Audra where it says forced to write white, it's also right there. You can just type it into the URL bar. So no reason not to. Also, Ben dropped a link to the Melanin Library channel. And like I said in the beginning, it is also recommended on my channel for if you're watching this in the future. So get into it. But yeah, that being said, you guys, we are going to go ahead and migrate over to the after chat. So if you need to sign up for the Patreon, now is the time to do it. $5 gets you in. So we will see you guys over there. Thank you for coming to hang out with us. And yeah, we will be back in, not next week, but week after, every 2 weeks for the next Melanin Chat. So until next time, you guys, I hope your days are lovely and your books are interesting. Bye, guys.